NASA astronaut, former commander of the International Space Station, Leroy Chiao. Leroy, great to see you as always. You're also the author of this awesome book, Dinner with an Astronaut. Leroy, let me ask you before we get to this humanoid idea that SpaceX is running after. I want to take you live pictures. The ISS, there's a spacewalk underway right now. And we are getting word this is the fourth spacewalk for one of the astronauts, two astronauts right now. What can you tell us about what they're repairing, what the mission is? And I know that, you know, every time we watch these things, we grow accustomed to the fact that we can just look up and see them. But I would imagine no spacewalk is routine.
No, and I've done 6 myself, 4 in American suits and 2 in Russian suits, and watching a live spacewalk like this always brings me back to my own experiences. But what they're doing out there today, Jessica Meir and Anil Menon, Jessica on her 4th EVA and Anil on his first mission, in fact, they're reconfiguring the station. They're getting it ready for a new set of solar arrays and reconfiguring some power channels. So it's a fairly, I mean, I hate to use the word routine, but there's nothing, you know, I mean, it's pretty bread and butter kind of work that they're doing outside. But you can see they're in their suits, they've got their tools, their, you know, their equipment. And spacewalks typically last about 6.5 hours, and they're a couple hours in, I believe.
Routine and mundane to you, but never gets old for those of us who've never been up. Thanks for walking us through those live pictures. We maybe dip back in on them because it's just fun and fascinating to watch. But let's talk about SpaceX and its plans to use these humanoid robots instead of sending astronauts to the moon. Can this work?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, Elon Musk, he's a visionary, and he always has these what seem like wild ideas. I mean, I remember back in the early 2000s when he proposed bringing back first stage boosters. Everybody thought he was crazy, and I have to admit I was skeptical at the time. But, you know, for many, many years now, SpaceX has been bringing back those first stage boosters on a routine basis and refurbishing and reusing them, and drastically cut the cost of launch, you know, by at least a factor of 5, maybe closer to almost a factor of 10. Starship, nobody thought that would work. They just completed their 13th flight test, and it's doing great. It's going to really be a disruptor. And, you know, of course, Elon Musk has said that, hey, look, SpaceX is not just a space company anymore. It's an AI company, and it's going to be a robotic company. And so his idea of using AI-powered robots on the moon to do construction and other hazardous things that, you know, would be hazardous for astronauts, I think they would augment humans there. You know, it doesn't mean that they would replace humans, but, you know, you can see his vision. And just another example, Starlink. Starlink was the last outfit to the game of satellite internet, and they have dominated, completely dominated. I would not count SpaceX or Elon Musk out. I think this is, you know, part of a natural progression of his vision. And I'm excited to watch the progress as we go.
Not usually a good idea to bet against Elon Musk or his team at SpaceX. They tend to defy, you know, all kind of, you know, what folks
absolutely.
What we would all say is just impossible, right? So I do want to ask you about this. A piece of space junk has now left its mark on the moon, though. It is a discarded SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, slammed into the lunar surface, happened early yesterday morning, and it's created this really very large new crater on the moon. It spent nearly 7 months just adrift. How dangerous is this? You know, that's significant. If we saw that entering our atmosphere, slamming into the Earth, it could kill a lot of people.
Well, sure. Now, and obviously the moon's atmosphere is very, very, very thin. And so it's not surprising. This is not the first time this has happened. A Chinese booster slammed into the moon a few years ago during NASA intentionally some years ago slammed an upper stage into the South Pole crater, a South Pole crater. And by observing the ejecta, what came out, we were definitively able to determine that there was water ice down there. So that proved the theory that there's actually water ice down in those craters that never see sunlight. So this event actually was highly anticipated. Astronomers and other scientists were very excited about this because they can learn from watching and observing and measuring what came out of that impact. And so, of course, there's, you know, no structures of any significance on the moon at present. So in the future, if we build up more bases, of course, this might be a concern. But NASA intentionally during the Apollo program slammed several of the third stage of the Saturn V rockets into the moon intentionally
Yeah.
to measure the effects with seismometers that have been left behind by the astronauts to learn more about what's going on inside the structure of the moon. And so there are a lot of scientific things that come out of this. I wouldn't worry too much about this. That upper stage, had it entered the Earth's atmosphere as had been planned, it would have been completely burned up in our atmosphere and not reached the surface.
Fascinating. Just a fascinating conversation. Leroy Chiao, sir, thanks so much for your time, your perspective. Always brilliant. Thank you.